from America's finest city. This is Real Talk San Diego on ESPN 1700.
What's happening, gang? You are live in the Secret Stash, hanging out with some of the coolest local people, talking about some of the coolest local stuff. Who knows, maybe getting a story out of them and making sure that we hold true to leaving you better than how we found you. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, co-founder of the Greenhouse Group, located right down here in the heart of San Diego, helping folks get into and out of homes. That's our game, baby. You didn't know that was our game, did you, Mark?
I think I did.
You know that was our game. Fair enough, brother. By the way, if you want to learn more about who we are, what we do, and some of our feature properties actually coming out live on the market this week, one up in PQ, one down in Bonita, by the way, you can go to thegreenhousegroupinc.com. Hanging out in the stash today, though, we're going to talk about floating. You're going to be like, hold on a second, floating, searching, floating. Who knows? You might have actually heard of it before. Mark, we were riffing here at the break. I learned about it from my man, Joe Rogan, who is not only one of my favorite comedians. I caught him, I think, 3 or 4 times live, but he's got one of the most listened to podcasts around, and he's riffed on this for longer than I even want to admit. I finally got off my tuchus and searched you guys up locally and found Mark. Mark is the owner of Float Spa San Diego. And by the way, you can catch, if you're sitting in front of your computer right now, not driving though. You're not supposed to do this while you're driving. You can go to floatspasandiego.com and figure a little bit more. You got some pretty pictures up there and some good descriptions on what in the world we're talking about. But we got the man in the house live so he can explain it for himself. So Mark, thank you for being in the stash, my man.
Thanks. I appreciate being here today.
You bet.
Yeah, I think, you said it well. Joe Rogan is a big advocate, and I think one of his famous quotes is that that floating is the single most important tool that he's used for his career, physical well-being, mental stability, and he just goes on and on. And yeah. I think another thing he says is like being in a seminar with yourself in the tank.
Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't heard him say that.
You get to go in there and review, what's going right and how to make it better, and those things that are off track and how to bring those back in line, and it just gives you that space to shut it all down in the busy world of texting and email and phone calling.
Well said. And so maybe now the conversation would be best served for the large percentage of people right now that have no idea what we're talking about, right? So maybe you could go 101 on us. Like, what in the world is Float Spa San Diego?
Yeah, we get that a lot. People bringing people, wondering what in the world floating's all about. I guess if you could just imagine walking into a space or into space.
Yeah.
Just that zero gravity feeling with no lights on, being, entirely with yourself, by yourself. And it's a sensation. Everything is skin tip neutral. So when you enter the room, you shower, get into the float environment, everything is skin temp neutral, about 94.5 degrees, which if you did a little temperature gauge on the outside of your body, that's what you would find. Most people think it's 98.3, but that being your core.
Yeah.
When you float at 98.4, it keeps you neutral internally as well. It doesn't heat you up, cool you off. So after 4 or 5 minutes, if you move your hand really slowly or any part of your body, you can't distinguish where the air and the water meet. So you get the sensation that you're just drifting through space for a full hour, which for some people can feel like a minute, and others it can feel like all day. It's just an incredible distortion of time and space. Gives you a place to shut it all down. And I think most of us really would love to meditate. And we hear these people that, I meditate for an hour or 2 or 3. And, I could have been the ADHD poster child of America. A bird or a gnat or a bug flew by and, 30 seconds into the meditation is gone.
Yeah.
But in the tank, there's nothing going by, no light, no sight, no sound, no feeling of any kind. So it really is a place to just shut it down, and we call it the lazy man or woman's way to meditate.
Well, man, that resonates with me, and I'm even going to challenge you to go one level deeper. So we started off with the Rogan hierarchy, then we zoomed down into the more specificity, but literally get down into the mechanics. So you walk into your Float Spa San Diego, you walk into the lobby. What happens next?
Yeah, so, we understand that probably 90% of the people come to this first time in. So staff takes time to go over, expectations. We always tell people there's not a lot to know about floating, but, hand position, things like that, important. And then we talk about, the fact that, the water filtration system goes through multi-stage filtration, UV light for sterilization, and ozone for oxidation. And we use no harsh chemicals. Everything we use is commercial grade. products, but nothing that would harm the body. And so just people to rest assured that they're in a very sterile environment. It's kept very pure. Even the room and the air is completely evacuated. So as you enter in there, shower up, get into the tank, you just basically are laying back and relaxing. We tell people a lot of times the easiest way to shut the brain down in the water is just to start counting, because there is nothing to focus on. Our minds will get really active, creative, and dredge up the day or tomorrow or next week or next month. Counting's a good way just to shut it down, and we found, and just get into that kind of meditative state that I think most of us always want to achieve, to really go somewhere to heal the body, because it's really where we found a lot of the Marines, the Army, the U.S. Navy SEALs, we have them in our facility. We're located by the Miramar base, so they're in there daily. Probably wouldn't go very long to not see a Navy SEAL in our lobby, and they use it because they know what works for their body, and they know that shutting the mind down is the quickest way to repair the body. So getting in, floating, basically you're opening that door back up an hour later as we play the music to let you know time has passed, and into the shower, and you're back into our lobby. And like I say, for some people it feels like they just got in. Yeah, and I that was true for me. I'm looking forward to sharing some of my experience over the course of our time together. So what you literally do is you walk into a room, and it's a normal sized room, just like the room we're in right here in the ESPN studios, and there's a shower in it though. And the floor is tiled, so it's like it's expecting, that you can walk out of the shower. You want to clean yourself first, and then there's like this sensory deprivation sort of chamber there, and it's about the size of, what would you say it's about the size of? Like a very small car. It's like a little mini, like a little Mini Cooper or something. Maybe not quite that wide, and it's got a hatch on it, and you just open up the hatch and you're not submersing deep. It's not deep water. No, so it's 10 inches. Yeah, so you don't have the fear of like you're gonna sink or anything like that. And it's highly salinous, so that you have that opportunity to be buoyant. Yeah, very similar to the Dead Sea. Very similar to the Dead Sea. Half your body's out of the water. So there's 1,000 pounds of magnesium sulfate, which is just pharmaceutical grade Epsom salts that a lot of people throw a cup or two in their bathtub. It'd be the equivalent of putting 200 pounds in your tub to get the same buoyancy. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, so aches and pains and stuff, which is a lot of the reasons why people soak in their Epsom. Exactly. It's like that on steroids, right? Yeah. So it's good. So then you get in there, you kind of chill out a little bit, for your first time, you're kind of like getting kind of used to the idea. And you got earplugs in so that water doesn't go inside your ears, which is key, by the way. I was a little bit worried about that at first. And then you can either leave the little door open or you can shut it or whatever. Like, I know in the beginning I shut it, but then I had a little crack open because I thought like I need a little training wheels, but quickly I pulled that little noodle out and I was hanging out in there, and it was so cool. Like, from my personal experience, man, it was literally an instant state change. Like, it takes a little bit for me to get out of being conscious. Like you mentioned earlier, the concept of getting into meditation, like, I don't know, we're all the ADD, poster child. So at least I know it's true for me and a lot of my friends. And so it forced me to have a state change where I didn't have the stimulus coming from the outside world affecting where I wanted to be, and then the frustration or the dissonance that comes from those two states, like where I want to be, where I actually feel like I am right now, the thoughts that are coming through, it just shuts it all out like, do. Exactly. And then you're just in it. And that's where the magic happens, does it not? Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people will come here, come to our facility, float for an hour. But the real magic happens around 90 minutes because that completes a sleep cycle. And so doing a 90-minute float is just like out of this world. Yeah, it's the gift, really, man. It's the gift. Speaking of gifts, Mark's given us a great gift by hanging out here live in the Stash Gang. This is Mark Lesicka of Float Spa San Diego. You can catch him out, by the way, at floatspasandiego.com, or you can call him old school at 619-233-1818. That's actually not Mark's number. I just messed that whole thing up. Hey, gang, listen, coming up, we're going to get Mark's number. It's the first thing we're going to do, and you're going to check out Float Spa San Diego in the meantime. We have got you streaming right now, Mark, live on the Meerkat app. So if you're wondering what in the world we're talking about, or you got a good question about floating for Mark, go ahead and punch in our handle at Follow the Stash, and you can actually tweet a question live for Mark. And coming up, we're going to talk about that sleep study.
kind of get into the weeds a little bit about why in the world that's a critical piece of the whole float gang, and then get a little bit deeper on Army studies as well. This actually being near and dear not only to San Diegans' heart, but also a lot of your clientele, let's be honest. So Mark Lesicka, Float Spa San Diego, Real Talk Radio. We'll be right back.